Okay, those that do not know me, my name is Annette Pearson, and I work in the Federal Grants Management portion of the federal programs, and I am the guru, I guess, to the Federal Grants Management system. So we're going to go through that today. If you have any questions, raise your hand, go over them. We'll go over them, we'll answer them, and please don't let my job stress you. What I need you to do, stress you out to where you're just a bundle of nerves by the time you call me, because that's not how we work. Y'all all know, call me, we go through it step by step, take a deep breath, and we're there, okay? Okay, so you've been talking through everything this morning on plan, do, check. Same thing you do within Federal Grants Management. It's a plan, do, check. Your first step is your plan. So you've planned everything and you're looking on how everything's going to be spent. You're looking at your budget, you're writing everything out, you're talking with your collaborators, you're talking with your federal programs person on coding, you're talking with your principals and your teachers on what their needs are. So then when you start looking at your federal dollars, you know what you're going to be spending your money on. Okay, the next step is due. So we've got final allocations, and we're talking about ending the year, okay? We're not talking about beginning because that's a whole new different batch of stuff. But right now, you're doing. You've got your final allocations, you're working with the bookkeeper to get those numbers in the budget worksheet, get the codes right. You're uploading your final budgets with the descriptions of what those line items should be. You're up in the store. You're making sure that those numbers that you put in that are in the budget worksheet are the same totals that you're entering in Federal Grants Management. So then that way they both work side by side. One's actual, one's your data recording. You're going to submit it in. It's going to be reviewed and approved by me. It's going to be locked. So then that way you start your record retention and then you look at your check. Plan, do, check. So you evaluated what you said you're going to be doing. You've looked at your needs assessment. Is these funds improving the needs of those kids that you're working with every day? And you're going on that direction. So plan, do, check. We have several questions about, well, what do we do now? What are we doing now? Right now, you need to be working with your bookkeeper. You need to be making sure that if you have required set aside, that they're in your Federal Grants Management. If you have, if you're transferring funds, always remember, if you transfer funds in Federal Grants Management, it's not official until it's in e-finance. Those steps have to occur, because if not, you're going to overspend in one budget and have money sitting out there in another program that you did never spend. So you're going to have those issues. And remember, you cannot end your federal budgets in a negative. Okay, I've opened up Federal Grants Management now. It is open and it is running. It's got the revised final allocations in there. So now you're looking at it and you're trying to determine what your next steps are. So between now and May 1st, you're going to do your budget worksheet for every one of your programs. Title 1, Title 2, Title 3, 4, and 5. And if you have those school improvement funds, 6707, or excuse me, 6507 and 6508, right, Jane? Those two numbers, 08, 07, and 08. Those budget worksheets all need to go into InduStar with your descriptions out there on those final line, that final column of what those line items are for. Once you get your budget worksheet approved by my office through us, you'll get your letter uploaded. You're going to take that budget worksheet, we're going to save it as P1 prelim. And you're going to start the process for some of those items that you have out there by line item and amending that budget worksheet. So then that way it's ready to be uploaded into InduStar for the 2021 school year. Yes, ma'am. Source of fund 6506, Jane, are they still spending all that fund money too? I thought those were already gone. 6506 source of funds are gone. Those funds have already expired. Yes, ma'am.
But we do not need letter for final. So we don't need to load the final work.
You want
our preliminary. You can upload.
Yes. Yeah, upload it. If it's, yes, if you're uploading, if you have 6506 funds, you just uploaded the preliminary, I want the final uploaded before.
6508, those funds are in March, and so we could upload one.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
6508 after graduation.
Okay, so the question is if they upload 6508. So yes, you're going to upload your source of funds for 6508 into InduStar when we have that folder open for 2021 form uploads. You'll put those into that folder.
We won't need to do anything this year.
No, you will not have to do anything this year for 6508. We're trying to make sure that everybody remembers that receive those 1003 funds, that their budget worksheet is also required to go into InduStar. Okay, so you're closing one and you're opening the other one within the same time frame. Okay, so you have to be mindset of what you're looking at. You're closing the May 1st for 1920, getting it approved, and then you're also taking that same budget worksheet for 2020 school year. Okay, to make sure you're watching those. If you're amending it for the things that you don't know or you don't need for the next year. Okay? So when those allocations come out, then you'll upload it into InduStar, and we'll do the process of getting your approval or an okay or what you need to amend, get it in there. But you have to submit the preliminary 2021 into InduStar. Do not upload your budget worksheet for 2021 into InduStar, then the funding is not even going to come your way. Okay, we had schools last year that said, just use what I just entered. We can't do it that way. PowerPoint, the step-by-step to step you through everything for the Federal Grants Management Program is on the ADE website. It's on the Public School Accountability. It's right on the home page. Okay, we talked about transfers a while ago. You can transfer Title II and Title IV out. They can go into Title I, Title I Part D, Title IIA, Title III, Title IV, and Title V. But you must receive those funds before you can transfer any of those funds in there. So if you do not receive Title V funding, you cannot transfer Title II or Title IV into that program source of funds. They have to be completed by May 1st. The law states that we have to have 30-day notice before the transfer is done. When I say we, I mean the Department of Education. We give you up until May 1st, so then that way you have the whole month of May to get it done before the final payments or the summer payments in June are made. So that gives me my 30-day window. That is why we say you have up until May 1st. And I know it's that second Saturday of each month with the pool is, but at least gives you that 30-day notice to be stating your transfer. Yes, ma'am, you have another question?
What-
Okay, the question was, what do they do with their 2021 budget worksheets if they're consolidating two campuses into another one with an LEA? What?
First thing,
Okay, wait.
I'm gonna get close to you. First thing is make sure you've submitted your LEA request paperwork to Carmen Jordan. That initiates that process to merge those two buildings together to get a single LEA number. That's first. And as soon as you get that in, it takes about a month for us to go through the process internally, because it has to go through many stages. And then Carmen will notify you that you've been approved and what your LEA number is.
Okay.
So if you need it early, do it early.
There's also, like,
Right.
Is this on? How do I turn this one on? I'm going to just use this one since I can't. Okay. All righty. What was that question one more time so I can repeat it? Yes. So the question is will there be an early submission for 2021 before preliminary allocations? Yes, that window is opened, and you can upload between, when I open it, it's going to be June 28th or something to that effect. So you have between June 28th till August to get those in. So yes, there will be a time frame that you can get those things, your federal grants management uploaded. Now the question that they had asked about the building configuration changes, what I've told school districts, if they know they're merging two buildings together, they're just going to take those two buildings and add everything as one. Okay, and then within the federal grants management, there's a maintenance page where you're going to change your building configuration. So if you're merging, if you're consolidating two buildings into one, if you're closing one, etc. You'll do all that within the federal grants management system. You have to submit that through the system, and then either Jane or I and Lindsay have the approval to approve those changes. And once we approve it, then you can go forward to the federal grants management system. Because without us approving it, you cannot go any further. You're locked out. And again, the transfer does not happen in e-finance. You need to make sure you work with your budget, your business manager to get those budgets and the transfers and everything aligned. I talked to Kathleen and she gave me the codes that they use for transfers. You're going to have a debit and a credit against each one of those programs, and that's how it has to show in e-finance to get it there. Mrs. Kathleen will be here this afternoon after lunch, and I'm sure she'll be giving you more information on all those transfers at the end of the year and e-finance. So you're asking, what are we supposed to be doing right now? We're supposed to be monitoring our budget worksheets. You're going to make sure you have 100% of your funds budgeted once you get those final allocations and carryover in there. You're going to make sure the rank order was followed correctly. If you have any neglected set aside, private school set aside, if you had any carryover from those from last year, you'll need to make sure you include it in the budget worksheets and in federal grants management this year. The transfer, the amount actual transfer is correct in both federal grants management and in e-finance. Remember, if you're taking indirect costs, it must be budgeted in federal grants management and on your budget worksheet. If it's not on your budget worksheet, you do not. It technically states that you're not taking it. If you put it in federal grants management, but you do not put it in your budget worksheet, it's still the same. You're still not budgeting, you're still not taking it. And it's the end of the year item that has to be done before closing. Because that's one of our major findings with audit is that they're not budgeting indirect, but yet they're taking it, and vice versa. So we need to make sure that it's done correctly with each district. And I'm watching those numbers. The district will need to make sure that they include the descriptions of each one of those line items again for your materials and supplies. If you have a teacher and there's an FTE attached to that teacher, we need the FTE amount, the teacher's name, and the position, the title of the position listed in those descriptions. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if we have a neglected set of topics, we have an amount of topics, that does. Correct.
Okay, her question is if they have a neglected set aside, and you're not going to spend all of those dollars. The way the law reads, those dollars are those dollars for those neglected students.
It's like you have $1,000 at a time. Oh, you said there's not pay from. You spoke from. Well, I don't. Out. I would talk to the facilities about what I want to have their budget with. I would give deadlines, they got it.
I'm gonna.
But have you carried it over? But they've always actually.
If you have documentation that shows if they say we don't want this money, you get that from them in writing. Or you won't have documentation, and then you'll load that back into your regular time. Then I would reach out to the facility. I would encourage them to. I'm assuming they submitted a budget to you. They did. That's what I would. I'm good. Yes, I would get you to decline that. I would have documentation that shows they declined it. Then I would roll it back. But you got to keep it.
Okay, and you have to make sure when you set aside funds for your private school students, if you set aside funds in Title II, in Title III, in Title IV, the state of Arkansas sees those as part of the carryover. So if you budgeted those funds last year, didn't spend them all, they're carried over into this year. So you have to watch your carryover on all your private schools from each program also. The question was asked, what kind of required reports do you need? We require the budget worksheet. We require comparability, and that's comparing two like buildings. two of your high schools, two of your elementary schools, etc. You're exempt if you have one building per grade span. So if you just have a K3, 4, 5, etc., you do not have to compare because that's what you're doing. You're comparing two like buildings. You just have to know what you've got going. And we compare by FTE of instruction. So that's how we do the comparison on if we have the amount of teachers per students. These are just the forms that are required within comparability. And now we're going to talk about time certification. In PARS, any employee that is paid with federal funds, and that includes special ed and child nutrition, Title I, Title II, any employee that is paid with federal funds, if they're 100%, they do a time certification or an annual certification form. If they are paid at with multiple cost objectives, they have to do a PARS. Any employee, the auditors are looking for those now, so make sure that you have all of those for all your employees. We've talked with Clarksville, and they've given us their PARS form. There's forms out at the back of Pickard that have different directions on how you can do your PARS. If you already have one and it's working for you, that's fine, you can use that one. No need in recreating the wheel to make it look like everybody else's if you already have a PARS that works for your district. Okay, Jen, it's a 10% variance time. Come on down.
I got it.
See, she stands behind me.
Can I ask you, go back to the question that was asked earlier about we're gonna open preliminary and close. You'll open it in June, close in August after the preliminary allocation.
Yes.
Okay.
She asked about the opening of the preliminary. When I open it up, it will be probably the end of June, and I'll leave it open until the end of August. So then that way we can get everything in there and everything's approved.
I do want to clarify about the upload budget.
She mentioned earlier about saving your 1920 budget and then changing that and changing it to 2021 preliminary. You still have to upload that in June. Give you a date because we've got to have from that date to when we start reimbursing payments in September to look through all the budgets and approve them. By law, you're not supposed to be spending money until you have an approved budget. That's why we have you submit budgets before July 1. So they're actually submitted to us, and we start reviewing them. We've got between then and when we start reimbursing the second Saturday of September to get your budgets approved. That way, if we need you to change something, we've got that time. And if somebody doesn't change something after being told in September when it's time to reimburse, I was okay. So either way, so there is a little bit of a difference there. She will open the grants management system in June, and you will have until first of August, but you're still going to have to upload a preliminary 2021 budget in June. We usually pick like the last Friday to give you as long as.
And that,
I recommend that you use your final allocation for this year as your preliminary allocation when you start building the budget. So when you change the date to 2021 and you may know next year that you're not going to have interventionists that were in your budget. So you'll go in those budgets and take those people out and put in the new items. But yeah, use your final allocation for this year as your preliminary allocation to start your 2021 budget. I would probably start with my budget or new money? The question was, do you include carryover in that preliminary budget? Know that you're gonna have some, or do you just budget your new money? I would start with just my new money, because you know when preliminary allocations actually come out, that you're gonna have to do your budgets then. And they actually don't calculate actual carryover until sometime in December.
Spending money from prior year. Because you're spending your money from prior year up until got it allocated or obligated, excuse me, have it obligated up to September 30th, and then you start spending. So finance is taking all of those obligations, verifying them that they were uploaded before September 30th, and then reimbursing the district on carryover, and then that's when they determine the actual carryover. And that's when I put it into federal grant.
Things like last year and next year, started working on it. But then if the actual allocation started off, doesn't it? Once you start working on one of those geographic pages, it pre-fills the allocation. And when the very allocation actually out, change it, so we had to start off. So should we really start working on it? Okay. Yes.
Yes. Yes, you should be filling out the federal grants management based on your allocation. Okay, you're looking at your final allocation. And even though it's going, let's say for example, you had $1,000 less in Title I received the prior year. We understand that it's going to be, but you're just going to budget what your final was. And the system will allow you to get a negative. So how I get districts to work around that negative carryover or that negative balance is I just tell them to get the while they're working on their preliminary only to do recommended average per child. So then that way, whatever is hanging out there is put in there for each child per child. There's not a negative. But yes, it does get to be a two-edged sword. You're filling one out using final allocations.
Let me see if I understand maybe. So when grants management opens up in June, she's right, we upload the allocations into, right? It's pre-filled. So when they open up, when you open up grants management, it's already gonna have board expense allocation in it. What allocation is that? So you're gonna upload what they're ending this year. Yeah. So if they get $5 million.
But I live in a federal grant management.
So it's going to be 2021 preliminary numbers. So Jenny's asking, so you don't do anything with that. So when you do open up grants management, it is going to have 2021 preliminary.
That's why they're taking your budget worksheet and you're changing it. You're taking your budget worksheet for 1920 and you're amending it for what you know is going to happen for 2021. And you're using that as your base, let's say, for your federal grants management. Okay? If that's what you've got.
When the FGMS opens up for the period,
Correct.
just like you're thinking.
Preliminary allocations are usually in August.
So when you open that,
Didn't open. We're not gonna open federal grants management until August. You're going to be working on your budget worksheets now for what you're working on, and you're using those. So when I open up federal grants management after August 1st, when I know finance has already got those numbers posted, that is when you're gonna put. Oh, I'm okay.
In the star.
In the
So
star.
think while you're working until she gets it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm sorry, I got the room getting confused. Too many acronyms to remember to say properly. I'm so sorry. Let me apologize again. Federal Grants Management, FGM, will open August 1st or 2nd or 3rd, whenever finance has said, hey, here are your preliminary numbers. In between now and then, you're amending your budget worksheet that's going to be amended to what those allocations are. And when you get down to your cost per child and you don't want to go over the amount that you have because carryover's not there and all that other good stuff, use your recommended per child. So then that way it balances out to 0 and you're not trying to do an actual cost per child. Now in my notes, when I sent back letters this year, I probably put on every one of those letters, make sure you use the actual cost per child when you do your final calculations. Okay. Any more questions, or is everybody still getting confused? Yes, ma'am.
What about
Transfers. Transfers are going to be using the preliminary allocations that are going to be in the federal grant management. Well, you're the one putting the budget worksheet into InduStar. So if you know you're going to transfer Title II, you can just say, I'm just going to use 90% of what I got the year before. Put your 90% of what you final was for this year. And if you're closer to that, at the long stretch of it. Okay? Okay, now we're going to talk about this 10% variance that everybody has questions on. We're going to make it real simple. The 10% variance is determined by comparing the difference of the budget expenditure amount to the actual expenditure amount of total for each function. It's your line across. If you budget $10,000, you spend $9,000, you're good. Okay? Examples. Now, this is probably going to go in with the Tier 1 training, so Robin, take notes. Okay. There's three different errors within this spreadsheet. The district took indirect, which is in the pink. Where? Look. That didn't work. Oh, well. Okay, in the pink, the district took indirect, but did not budget these funds. So that's a negative 290,000. That's an audit finding because, again, you took it, but you didn't budget it. You didn't show me that you're going to take it. On the second example, in the blue, you budgeted 9,000, you spent 13,000, and you have a negative 4,000 hanging out there. The amount that you could actually take for that particular line item would have been $10,999. Okay, because 10% of $9,099, you add the 10% of what the 9,000 and what was it, 909.98, and you get 10,000. So you've already overspent on that line item and overspent your variance of that line item. And the third one, the green area, the expenditures are more than the budgeted item, but still less than the 10%. Because when you look at 3,500 times the 10% is 350. So theoretically, your amount should have been 10% of this amount would have been $3,800, $3,850, but you still spent under. That's not a problem in your variance. So it's function. So it's going to be 2210 across, 1510 across, everything going across on your budget worksheets. And while you're doing this right now, when you ask for your budget worksheet for your final, you can do this right now. You can have your bookkeeper run that report and not delete year-to-date expenditures on there in that last column. So if your bookkeeper runs your budget worksheet for your final and you're looking at it, you've already got this. But I also know in eFinance, there's a program that's been built, if I'm not mistaken, Kathleen worked with us to build a program in there that shows the errors when there's a problem within eFinance to your budget to your actual. Now, with this one, these are all salaries and benefits and materials and supplies, everything, where they have zero budgeted, but they have all these expenditures. These are unallowable. You would have to move those expenditures out to an allowable expenditure or move funds into those line items. And now is the time you should be doing that. That's why when we are talking, you're going to be collaborating with your federal coordinator and the business manager. Everybody's talking right now to make sure there are no line item expenditure issues. And as you can see, there's more up here on this one. There's unallowed because they had nothing budgeted, but they had an expenditure. There's some that are greater than the 10%, less than the 10%. So you can do this report when your bookkeeper gives you that budget worksheet. Just do your calculations within that spreadsheet and you can see these things. You can fix them before you ever upload it into the federal grants, until you upload it into STAR. Even I can close it. So you're watching everything, line by line. Okay, is there any questions on the 10% variance? What you got, Robin?
Take the money.
I just want to verify that on indirect cost, that the 10% variance does not apply whatsoever.
She is correct. The 10% variance does not apply to indirect costs. Yes, ma'am, there's no questions. The budget worksheet that the bookkeeper pulls, this is just mine, but I can't tell you, it's that same path that they take when the bookkeeper pulls this report from the federal coordinators. It's that very same worksheet, but I just cleared this up so it wouldn't have everything on there. A detailed expenditure report is what this is. Any questions on this one? Any more 10% variance questions?
Not a question, but thank you. That expectation was, and knowing that we make those changes at night.
Yes, that's where it's always been falling into. That's what I would follow. The statement was made that she appreciated the examples given, and this is where I'm always telling you in May, between February and May 1st, when you're trying to figure out your plan to evaluate, this is what you're doing. Okay. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Dawn.
Months ago, Rod and I got emails from her. She said, I would not have it. So if you can't have an balance, your budget. Because you've already fixed it.
And you answered that.
Yes, what the question was doing the amendments theory with e-finance, moving and amending, and the 10% variance doesn't play into effect, but you can't have a negative balance in any of the federal.
Can I ask a silly question? I just
Nothing silly.
find that something that paid first as a budget, that cannot change it.
Question is what they submit, and when you say what they submit, okay, what the federal coordinator submits to me and May 1st is it. Okay, because I approve what they do. I do not approve what the.
So, you need to make sure that all these people are paid the same for June 30th. Not budget.
When you're looking at the 10% variance, that's a whole new animal when you're trying to get your final expenditures in there. But yes, you should know up until now, or up until then, what you're expecting. I know there's an encumbered line. But yes, we understand. We know salaries are there. They're always going to be there. But any of your materials and supplies and services. Okay. This for next.
And would you be, you right? I know. Or it's eight. Okay. And all your federal funds, any.
Okay, so from what I just said, the question was about your budget line items is leaving in the negative. It's only built in right now for 6501, but we have the ad scan guru here, Ms. Kathleen, and she said she would build it into for 2021. But you're going to watch those numbers when you're doing your budgeting sheet right now. Okay. I don't know how far should I go back. Y'all all have to come to me now. Sorry. Okay, 10% variance, going once. Okay, we're good. Required carryovers. We talked about this, and this is the time of the year when I get all my notes from ADE Finance on what the actual carryover is for schools that had to set money aside or they did not spend in 1 year, and it's just carried over to the next year. And I understand that you're going to budget 100% of your funds, but that doesn't mean you're going to spend 100% of your funds. So you're going to watch your required carryovers. I've already sent out the list in December. I think when finance sent it to me, I turned right around and uploaded it and sent it to all the districts. Now, I know some districts have called and said that they did not have any of the private school kids this year, that the money was set aside for last year, so those funds automatically become the district pot, so they'll just move those funds out of one and into the other. So they're going to watch that. I collected the data from AppScan on the actual expenditures line items, and that's how I determine what your carryover is for some of those programs for parent and family, 2170, anything that has to do with the private school, 3352, etc. Okay, we had some questions about the Title IV budget worksheets and the changes that are required. due to the CSPR, which is the Consolidated States Performance Report that the Department of Education has to submit to the feds, they ask specifically how much were the funds for each one of those categories within those sections of Title IV. When you open up the Title IV application, you have, 4107, or excuse me, 4105, 4107 sections. On those expenditure lines, for each one of those, you're going to have to tell me how much is set aside for 4107 or 4108. So then I can give the feds the actual amount. Because what some of you code as improvement of instruction in one district might not be the same in another district. So this way you're all giving me the same data and I'm collecting it to put in there for the Consolidated Performance Report.
Let's talk a little bit about this, where it has those codes listed there, the 4107, 08, and 09. We need to know the expenditure in your budget. These are sections of the law. The 4107 are the activities that support a well-rounded education, like your college and career activities, your STEM activities. When you have an expenditure, we want to know, is it tied to that section of the law? If it's 4108, the support safe and healthy students that you can use on like evidence-based drug and violence prevention programs and such, we want to know, is that expenditure for those activities? If it's 4109, it's going to be activities that are associated with effective use of technology. Now, if you get $30,000 or more, you must do a needs assessment. There's originally, when we got Title IV money, they said if you transferred out enough to get you down below 30,000, you didn't have to do a needs assessment. That is no more. The feds have come back and clarified on that. So if you get 30,000 or more, and say you get 60,000 and you transfer 40,000, thinking you don't have to do a needs assessment, that's wrong. If you get 30,000 or more, you must do a needs assessment. Please don't just transfer your money to keep from doing that. The feds really recommend that you leave money in the pots that they were intended for, because every year when they send the new budget down, they talk about cutting programs. Title II and Title IV seem to be always on the chopping block, because people transfer those funds into Title I and they look at them and say, well, they're not using them like they were intended to be used in, so they must not be that important. So I would really recommend that you leave funds where they were intended. But I did want to point out on those, the reason we are collecting that is at a 4108, 4107, 08, or 09 is because the feds are asking us to report on it. What are districts using this money specifically for? And remember too that you've got the minimum 20% in the well-rounded section. You've got minimum 20% of your allocation to support safe and healthy students, and a maximum of 15% on effective use of technology. Now that doesn't mean that you can't spend 60% on 4107 and 20%, 25% on safe, healthy, and then 15% on technology. But you have to spend a minimum of 20, and then a maximum of 15% on technology. But we are having to report on those activities by sections of the law. So that's why we're asking that. I want to back up just one thing on the items that Annette just touched on. Someone asked the question on, can we make changes after May 1, or is May 1 the absolute deadline? May 1 is the absolute deadline. There's no changing in period 13. You get everything in your federal budgets by May 1 and we approve it. So I believe period 13 goes from July 1 to August 30th. No changes. Maybe one is it with your federal funds. So I need you to keep that in mind. Any questions on that Title IV, on why we're doing what we're doing? Oh, I hope I can answer it, Miss Jenny. Come on up here and join us. That's what happens when you ask a question.
So the question is, if there's some similarities, if so, if well-rounded students is also safe and healthy, should we put both codes?
I need to break it down.
It may not be possible. They may be both, so we have to pick one or the other. Okay.
Yeah.
Even if it, okay, I get it.
Yeah, you're going to pick which one I think it most closely would go into. You can't split, and I can't even think of an example that you might split between, that might really run the line there between well-rounded and safe and healthy. I'm sure there's a multitude of them, but I think you have to pick the one that's most appropriate that you think that would be coded. Anything else? I think you have the last screen. I think it's just the contacts, and I don't think any of those are new to you guys. We have. Can you back up? We actually have two. Well, let's start. Miss Rachel, are you back here, Miss Rachel Wade? She is helping with targeted assisted school-wide. Miss Lindsay, you want to stand up? Lindsay Stroud, she is helping with district support. Melissa Madison's not here. Tracy Holland, she's new. She's been here since last fall. She also is helping with district support. So those would probably be the new staff that you haven't seen. There are all of the contacts, and then there is also a page of resources that are available to you. Anybody have any questions?
If you'll go ahead and continue to submit your questions during the lunch break, we'll certainly try to get those answered, Marilyn.
Okay, the first one is, so all funds should be encumbered by May 1st.
They should have them in the budget on how they're going to spend them. They can't change that budget.
So let's just come back and think about that. If you had a really good plan, you're serving the kids, and you know what you're spending your money on, right? So it's not about getting to the end and trying to spend money fast. That's what they're trying to stop. And the other thing that we heard at the federal programs meeting was they want you spending money on the group of kids that money has been generated for. So that's the kids in that current year. They don't want you holding money and spending it. They want you spending it on the kids that are there.
I'll give it probably a best example I can think of that people change their mind for summer school. It's like, okay, by May, you would think you had a plan if you were going to have some kind of summer school program. I have people call me the last of May and say, you know, we've decided we're going to do a summer school program starting the last of June. And no, I mean, if you want to put that in your upcoming year's budget, fine, but we're not going back and changing the one we just came out of. So keep that in mind. Your planning, it should have been done. Ms. Kaufman is correct. And you need to be spending your money on in the year that those kids were there that generated those funds.
Please clarify what you said about minimum percentages in Title IV. Are you saying all your funds can't be spent in one category?
That is correct. If you get over $30,000, you must spend a minimum of $20,000 in 4107, which are the well-rounded activity support well-rounded. You must spend 20%. I'm sorry, 20%. 20%. If you get over $30,000, you must spend 20% of that In 4107, you must spend a minimum of 20% of it in support 4108 for safe and healthy, and a maximum of 15% on effective use of technology.
You may have answered this, but there was a follow-up. So if you get less than 30,000, then you can spend it in one category.
That's correct.
That is correct.
One more question.
Is it 15% total in the effective use of technology, or 15% on technology devices and could spend other amount for training in the use of technology?
I think it would depend on how you were tying. Let's see if I could think of a way that you could cross this. I do know that we had the question asked one time about technology that the district felt really like it fell within the activity support well-rounded students, but the actual devices that they were going to purchase fell into the 15% technology. And the feds told Ms. Oderstein that you had to decide if it most closely fit into one of those activities in the other category. So the 15% is spelled out in the law exactly. I would encourage you to read those sections if you get more than 30,000 in Title IV. I would highly encourage you to go through and read each section of the law and make your money fit that. Don't have any guesses, and don't, you know, what we're telling you is our interpretation. It's not the law. It's how we interpret it. So I would encourage you to go in and see how those best fit. Our argument was the feds was, it mentions in there that 15% maximum is on technology infrastructure. Well, our argument was devices aren't infrastructure. And what we were told is their interpretation was that it was. So we could only spend 15%.
Another question submitted, clarification question. If you receive more than 30,000 and transfer 100% of Title IV funds, you still must complete a needs assessment?
If you're transferring that into the other program, you need to do a needs assessment for any of the federal funds. So you're going to have to do a needs assessment regardless of what fund pot it's in. I mean, if you transfer 30,000 of it into Title I, you have to do a needs assessment for Title I. So it's Title I money now. So how are you going to use that money?
Yes, sure can.
Okay.
Okay, another question.
This was from the survey that we put out. Is it in Title I, are substitute costs allowable, or is that a double expense for the same service?
Answer that. If your employee is paid with Title I money, a paraprofessional, and they're Title I funded, then their substitute can be paid with Title I money. If Janie Green is a third grade teacher and I get sick and go home, you can't pay for my sub out of Title I. Now, if we're doing a professional development for my third grade teachers and I'm using Title I to send those teachers to that PD during the day and I need subs, then you can use Title I money to pay for those subs because they're getting the Title I paid PD. But you can't just haphazardly pay everybody's for substitute teachers out of Title I. Only those that are paid with Title I funds, or if you're a school-wide school and your teachers are going to a Title I paid PD above their 30 hours. And you always need to document that, because I promise you the auditors are going to check on that. You have a question? So safety has become, and I am not the Title IV advisor. Know that. I don't do the back and forth with the feds on this. I do know that security has been a big question. Remember that Supplant is still in effect with all your titles besides Title I. A district is required to have what? Safe, warm, dry. Okay, safe. So I'm going to tell you, if I was looking at a identification card scan into my building, I would not use a federal fund to pay for that. I have a district that's used Title I, and they're paying it back because audit does, we work very closely, and they're awesome. Leg Audit will call me and say, hey, Jane, we've got a district that's spent, and I'll go, nope. I know, oh, okay. So security, please be cautious. I would not use a federal fund when I was paying for some kind of security system. I wouldn't even ask.
Got a question, I was told to transfer it to Title V. Keep going.
To buy what?
Keep going.
Transfer.
Title IV to Title V.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question so that?
She was told to transfer Title IV to Title V to buy key codes. Now, Title V is supposed to be used how? Does anybody know?
Supplementing for already federal funds.
It can be used in any way any of your other federal funds can be used. So that'd be a question that you would have to ask, not me. I just tell you that I know Title V is to be spent reflective of what is allowable in any of your other title programs.